So here's an interesting development in now post-election, doing a little digging around, investigating. We know Carlton riding was very suspicious with the 91 candidates and Pierre Polyev and how that was resorted. But now this detail came out. This is from Alex Jones, which understandably, I know Alex Jones got things wrong in the past. And understandably, he got one thing majorly wrong in the past, which got him criminally charged and so on. But this is an individual, regardless of all that, this is an individual, when he gets things right, it is dead spot on. And he's had a very successful track record of predicting things that have been correct. And there's a lot of good comparative to the things that are bad. So that's why I'm resorting to him as the source. And he also says, gotta do the Alex Jones voice. Breaking! Canadian citizen journalist catches election workers taking boxes of ballots home over the weekend before election day to keep it secure. What happened in 2020 in America with the election just happened last week in Canada. So he's on his show InfoWars, or is it just Alex Jones? I don't think he has InfoWars anymore, but he's on his show here, and he brings on this Canadian citizen journalist, and this citizen journalist is about to explain to Alex Jones what he saw in his riding when the poll workers were handling the ballots. Listen to this.
Friday before our election, I caught 5 election workers taking boxes of votes home. It's a true thing. I got it on camera. It's gotten over 1 million views on
Wait a minute.
internet.
You mean WEF candidates and groups steal elections? Oh, come on.
I literally accidentally came across people literally taking votes home, and I followed one home, and I got it on camera, and he was very shifty and he had 3 different stories when I asked him about it when I confronted him. So I then, on that video, I called Elections Canada, and they confirmed to me that it is regular practice for them to take votes home the weekend before the election, which is just insane. And they said it's to keep it secure, right? But the whole thing is there's pre-voting as of like the end.
So take that in for a second. I'm blown away just by that statement alone. So it's regular practice to keep the ballots secure. You're going to take those ballots away from the polling station instead of locking it up in a secure location. You're going to take that away to somebody else's home. What? How does that make sense? How does that make sense? I'm gonna take your vote and send it to someone's house. That I don't know if it's gonna change the vote. I don't know if they're gonna shred it up. I don't know where they're gonna place it in their house. How do I know their place is secure? You're gonna take ballots that people cast in the election to their homes and make it so that they say it's secure. What? How insane that is. How insane that is. And they say it's regular practice. A regular practice. And we're finally knowing this now.
End
So
of March.
there's more.
So the entire month, those votes were in that office. And at that office,
They use the same tactic around the world, the WF crime syndicate, the Democrats, all of it. Just like the mail-in ballots, it's the exact same crap. Yeah. Spencer in Canada, you're on the air. Thanks for holding. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. Great to be with you here. I just wanted to let people know in the world that what happened in 2020 in America with the election just happened last week in Canada. I'm a journalist, so to speak, on YouTube, MCGA on YouTube, and Friday before our election, I caught 5 election workers taking boxes of votes home. It's a true thing. I got it on camera. It's gotten over 1 million views on
Wait a minute.
internet.
You mean WEF candidates and groups steal elections? Oh, come on.
No, I know, but I got...
Next, you're going to claim that fish swim in the ocean.
Well, check this out. Like, literally in Canada, on the website for Elections Canada, you don't require ID to vote. And I actually went undercover with fake IDs that I made in the parking lot of elections offices and quite literally went in with a piece of paper and at one time a pill bottle that I made and they accepted it as formal ID to vote in our election.
Oh,
So
yeah,
that's
just like
a-
Kamala only won states with no voter ID. Yeah. So is that posted on your YouTube?
It is. Now, I'm not coming on here to self-advertise. I'm coming here to
You don't understand. I like journalists and citizens. It wasn't a sarcastic comment. I'd like to see it.
No, so yeah, you just search up MCGA. You can find me on YouTube. We have millions of people in Canada that come. But like,
yeah, say it again. Say it again. You're
MCGA.
MCGA. Okay. On you. Well, let's pull it up. So tell us more.
Yeah. So I mean, I went hidden camera. There's MCGA investigations, which you can find as a playlist. You'll find it all, and as well, Fear and Loathing on the.
Great. Well, we're on it. So tell me what you found. I'm very interested. This is amazing.
So if you go 3 videos back, you see one that's got 250,000 views. That I literally accidentally came across people literally taking votes home, and I followed one home, and I got it on camera, and he was very shifty and he had 3 different stories when I asked him about it when I confronted him. So I then, on that video, I called Elections Canada, and they confirmed to me that it is regular practice for them to take votes home the weekend before the election, which is just insane.
So this guy, after catching one of the poll workers taking the ballots home with him instead of putting in a secure spot, he then called Elections Canada, and Elections Canada confirmed that. Oh yeah, it's just regular practice that random people take ballots home with them. What? How is that? How is that okay? How is that okay? And how is it that we're finding out now if they say this is regular practice? So are you telling me that the 2021 election was that? And is it just federally? Is it also provincially? Like, how far does this go? How far does this go? That they're taking ballots to people's houses. Oh my God. So if you think that was kind of crazy, here's a bit of the story to it to prove this argument. This guy, Real Mr. Bench, caught one of the poll workers doing this in his riding. Should we be concerned about the integrity of Elections Canada? You decide. So he posts this video. This is him after casting his ballot in his riding for the federal election. And you can see the poll workers are walking out in handbags with the ballots. This is unbelievable. And I can't believe that even Elections Canada is like, yeah, okay, yeah, this is regular practice. They're just okay with this. They're okay with this. Watch.
I can't believe you're doing that.
What do you mean? I don't understand.
We're working for government.
I want to understand why these are just sitting on the street, how you took them into a taxi, and you guys could just fill out anything you want and put them in the box? Is this a normal election? This is how elections are run? This is a complete fraud.
Why don't you go and speak to the people inside? They'll be happy to take care of you. We are working here. You're not allowed to.
I'm on public property. I can film whatever I want. And you guys are walking around with ballot boxes in a taxi?
Oh my God.
How big is it?
Wow.
Oh my God. And it's even Elections Canada tote bags that they're using. And this is supposed to make it secure. So they claim. It's supposed to make it secure. That they're taking it to their houses. Yeah, we just give it to the taxi driver. We just leave it out on the streets for, a homeless guy to use it as a bed. It's secure. Don't question elections. Don't question things. Come on. Elbows up. God. Oh, this is just messed up. And here's another instance. This is, I believe, Toronto area. Wilson Avenue. I think that's Toronto. Or, sorry, Wilson Road. I think it's Toronto, I do believe. And, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. They have it in plastic bags, literally on a street corner. Just sitting there. How is this safe? How is this proper? for a proper democracy? How do you make sure your ballot is safe and secure and it's your ballot, your cast, your vote, when literally it's up for grabs for anybody on the street, then they just plop it right in the ground? How crazy that is. How crazy that is. And they want to, they're lying to you about how secure it is. Oh, it's just a regular practice. That woman who was caught on camera couldn't even admit to it. That's when she'd start saying, well, this is private property. You shouldn't be recording. Well, the guy's on the street. It's public property. And also, you're taking away ballots to your own house. How do I know my vote is going to be secure? What are you doing with the ballots? What are you doing at your house? Am I allowed to peek on what you're doing? So here, Elections Canada even chimed in. They chimed in to that video we just saw of the woman taking ballots home with her. Elections Canada says, hi, there are many safeguards in place to manage the custody of the ballots and ballot boxes as prescribed by the Canadian Elections Act. Until the counting of the ballots starts on election day, an election officer must keep the sealed ballot boxes or boxes in their custody. Well, as you saw there, first off, leaving it on a street corner and having it out in the general public, especially in crime-ridden cities, just saying, if it was Toronto or Ottawa or any of the big metropolitan areas, it's not going to be secure. It's not going to be secure. And also, why is it not in custody of the polling station? Why do they not have it secured in a lockbox or a safe or something? Why is it in a grocery bag that they're carrying around in public? In accordance with the chief electoral officer's instructions, the boxes include the slot where the ballots are inserted must remain properly sealed and must be kept in a secure location at all times. Doesn't look like that. Did not look like that when they were deliberately bringing it out to their cars. And even the woman said, oh, we put it into a taxi. Oh, so some stranger driving a taxi is securing the ballots of the nation. That's good to know. That's good to know. That's secure. Read our electoral fact on this. They give the website. It is illegal to tamper with a ballot box. There are multiple safeguards in place throughout the electoral process that would identify any irregularities if they were to occur. But as you saw there was a immense amount of irregularities. And we've been covering about certain ridings that are very suspicious and judges into question about the integrity of the outcome of the election. As I even stated on election night, I found it very weird that they only counted 15% of the votes of the country. 15% of the votes of the country, and immediately called it for Mark Carney. Didn't even hardly get into Ontario. They just assumed, well, we got Atlantic provinces and we got a bit of Quebec. Boom, Mark Carney's the winner. But didn't get any of the other provinces westward. So the whole election is very suspicious. The whole election is very suspicious. I can't say more about it because I'm pretty sure YouTube will have a heyday for this. So I'm going to leave it to your guys' judgment. But it seems very odd. It seems very odd. David Creighton, who's a editorial for Post Millennial, and he also chimes in on Redacted. That's where I've seen him. He said these are rules that should be changed. Election boxes with or without votes could not go home to staff. Should be locked in a central location. Carl Harrison says 100%. Why is that not the case? That seems more secure to me. And if it's in a central location, one, you could easily find where it's stored. and just have one person manage that? And two, how do you know that the poll workers aren't going to compromise the ballots? How do you know that the poll workers, if they bring it to their own house, are going to keep it safe? That makes no sense. It makes no sense. And Elections Canada is okay with this. Elections Canada is okay with this because it's a regular principle. That, we take the ballots home with us, and then we just cross our fingers that nothing gets done with it, and hope that the election goes in your favor. If you don't like it, well, that's democracy. Wow. So like I said, the whole election is very suspicious. Even this post here, this is from the Globe and Mail, I do believe. Don't have the banner. And it says Mark Carney's Liberals would win a majority government if election was held today. Poll agitator says Prime Minister Mark Carney is calling the election Sunday, with polls suggesting his Liberals are poised to defeat Pierre Poilievre's Conservatives. Yeah, guess what date that was written? Guess what day they wrote up that article? March 20th. March 20th of 2025. Do you know why they think that Mark Carney would easily win the majority if the election was held on March 20th as compared to April 28th? Because that was the day Mark Carney immediately got headed up as the leader of the Liberal Party, immediately became prime minister, and no one knew about who this guy was. So obviously, if nobody knew about who this guy was, and there wasn't a bit of brief time to discuss his background for podcasters, researchers, alternative media to do some background research on this guy, yeah, he'd probably win a majority. Because it's just this magical genie that just popped out of nowhere at the right time that's going to fix the Canadian crisis people are just going to be smitten with him, not knowing a thing about his background. And this guy, the remanded, says, we had a small team who also did an independent inquiry into the BC election, October 19, 2024. So this is the provincial election in British Columbia. So now the provincial ballots, people are now investigating the provincial ballots' integrity because of how suspicious these outcomes are becoming and how they're changing the rules, how they're gerrymandering. We saw with the Carleton district, how they deliberately changed the guidelines and brought in the other riding to incorporate into the Carleton riding to make it one giant riding, and then had 91 candidates specifically in the riding that Pierre Poilievre was running. Now, you may disagree with Pierre Poilievre or like Pierre Poilievre. The point of the matter is that 91 candidates and gerrymandering an entire district is not right, no matter what candidate's on that ballot. That is not right. So they say we have a small independent inquiry. One aspect is in the issues with the BC registration, where their two bodies, Election Canada and Elections BC, have a difference of 165,000 registered voters are missing from the Elections BC registry during the BC election, seeking legal advice shortly. And even got mainstream attention. Here's CTV News. Elections BC say box of 861 votes uncounted. British Columbia's election agency says it has discovered that a ballot box containing 861 votes wasn't counted in the recent provincial election. So now it's not just federally, but now people are investigating provincially about ballots and ballot and the integrity of the electoral process. And here's the bit of the investigation here. I'm not going to read all of this, but you can see some points measured. Missing 5,000 votes from results. Total pages from October 19th to 2021. Yeah, it is just it is very suspicious. Very suspicious on all these different coincidences, as the mainstream media would say. It's a coincidence. It's not nothing to be important. It's just a coincidence that we happen to have 91 candidates. It's a coincidence that the Carleton riding has also incorporated the other riding that was majority liberal, so that more liberals would be in that riding. It's just a coincidence. The coincidence that we got 40,000 newcomers into the country, into a specific riding that all voted for the liberal. It's just a coincidence. And this woman, Holly Doan, says 205,000 mail-in ballots from the last federal election, so 2021, when Justin Trudeau called the snap election, 205,000 mail-in ballots in the last federal election were not counted. Elections Canada has disclosed number of ballot kits late, canceled, or marked lost in the mail was greater than the margin of victory. And Elections Canada responded with, "We are deeply sorry." So even they admitted to this. They even admitted to this. And how is it that this has not become mainstream attention? How is this not raising suspicions about the election process? And how does this not frustrate people that electorally we are screwed, that there's no outcome to this, and we need to form grassroots movements if we really want changes? Because if they're doing this to ballots, and if they just have no respect or integrity for your vote and your voice, then what is the point of this? What is the point of the election? What is the point of campaigning and going to your polling station and writing in whatever, marking what candidate you want? What's the point? If this is the outcome, if Elections Canada can't even take this seriously. So here's a bit more of this. This is from Sheila Gunn Reid, who I believe is from Rebel News. Breaking: Elections Canada admits to mishandling 822 special ballots from 74 ridings across the country. The ballots were never counted. Why? Because they were left sitting at a returning office in Cotrium or Coquitlam. I must be a Quebec riding because I can't pronounce the French in that. Even though I took French right up to grade 10, still very very novice in the bilingualism. So under the Canada Elections Act, these ballots need to arrive at headquarters by April 28th at 6 p.m. They didn't. So they were legally voided. Hundreds of Canadians cast their votes that were automatically discarded. Elections Canada says the issue was caused by human error and a failure to follow basic procedures. No kidding. Wow. It fathoms me. It fathoms me that all this time we've been pointing the finger at America and saying how awful and disparaging and how we would never become American, and yet this is something deeply America would do. And we're just doing it. We're doing the exact same thing America does. We are just as corrupted, as propagandized, as just sinister as our neighbors of the South. The only difference is we kind of have a passive aggressiveness to it. We smile. We're more courteous. It's more sinister because you get the pretty face of Justin Trudeau or Mark Carney, but yet the same stabbing motions as a nefarious Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell, or Donald Trump for that matter. Um, they claim after their own analysis that the outcome in any of the 74 effective ridings wouldn't have changed. But let's be real. Why should Canadians trust the same officials who botched it in the first place? Chief Electoral Officer Stephanie Perlot has now been asked for a review of the process, but the damage is done. Ballots were binded, voters were disenfranchised, and the accountability is MIA. This is exactly why public trust in Elections Canada is slipping. If they can't count ballots properly here, what else and where else are they screwing up? So this is a serious matter. This is serious matter to the situation that, you know, Canadians, again, they always view Americans as like, oh, they're just, rednecks that don't trust their institutions. And we here in Canada, we have more of a tolerance and we're very diverse and we care about our institutions more than America. Well, this is where the turning point is that we got to start looking into our government more. Because Elections Canada, doing their own analysis, manipulating ballots, causing their own corruption, not having a secure location, confirming that the ballots are going home with the pollsters into their own home and driving through taxis. Apparently that's secure in shopping bags, is how this country is staying afloat electorally. And as I stated, and I'll continue to state at this point because of just how much more information we're getting on all this, that this country is not going to be saved electorally. Doesn't matter if it was Mark Carney, if Mark Carney is prime minister, or Pierre Poilievre, or Jagmeet Singh, or Blanchette, or even the Green Party for that matter. No matter who's in charge, the prime minister is basically a mascot to this circus, this insufferable gang, this insufferable cartel of deep insiders, perpetrators, investors, special business interests, and corrupt individuals that have already captured this country. And the only way to really stop it, the only way to really cause a real change, cause a real ruckus into Canada, is the same way we saw with the Freedom Convoy, is to bring people together on a united front and stand up and fight back for working class Canadians and the prosperity of this nation. We got to do grassroots movements because electorally, it doesn't matter. Electorally, you're basically pointless, especially now after this. Basically pointless. Because even if that politician says the right thing, even Pierre Poilievre saying the right thing about domestic issues, he was prime minister right now, he'd be probably doing the same things that Carney's doing. And I'm sure that someone's going to be talking into his ear to push certain agendas and push certain measures that are deeply not Canadian, that are not a prosperity for people here in this country, and more in the efforts of agitators like the WEF and people that have taken their sovereignty already.